This is Blow Up, when Liz Tilberis transformed Bazaar. I'm Cynthia True.
And I'm Dennis Golonka. Welcome to our final full episode, a 90s Bazaar reunion with former creative director Fabien Baron, co-fashion directors Paul Cavaco and Tonne Goodman, and accessories director Richard Sinnott. It was the first time we had been together in decades. It's something I'd never imagined I'd experience, and it was so wonderful. We hope you enjoy it.
This is so nice. Oh my God, it's so nice to see you.
So Tonne's coming, and then Paul and Fabien are going to be on the Zoom. Fabien's zooming from Paris, and
Chic.
Paul, I know.
And Paul's waking up early.
Yeah, he's in LA.
Paul got up at 5 a.m.
You know I love
Oh,
him, man.
look, I think he's on.
Hi, Paul Cavaco.
Hello, Paul Cavaco.
Hello, Fab.
Hi, Fabien. I miss you.
It's great to see you guys.
Paul, are you going to brush your teeth?
No, I'm trying to make coffee. It is 5:45 in the morning, and I'm dressed and showered and combed.
Connie's downstairs.
Oh, Paul, put the headphones on.
I don't have headphones.
Do you have earmuffs?
I have a muff.
She's here. Tonne's here. Here she is. Sniff.
Paul, you're looking awfully well, I must say.
Mm-hmm.
It's all blurred out. What can you tell?
Oh, Fabien.
I have music in my
You have music.
fucking music. Like, why?
This is Blow Up, when Liz Tilberis transformed Bazaar.
So, my first question is, when was the last time you guys were all in the same room together? You can go around if you want.
Ooh, Fabien, you start.
Oh my God, all together? I don't know, like probably on last issue of Harper's Bazaar that we've done together, which was the white issue,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, but Paul wouldn't have been there.
I wasn't there in the same room. I think probably Liz's memorial.
That's what I was thinking.
Right.
That makes sense.
Because you guys haven't really had occasion to work with each other again since that time, have you? Even though you're...
Well, Paul and I work together all the time.
I've worked with Paul and I worked with Tonne separately. And I used to see Fabien dropping his daughter off at school. We would see each other, and I see Richard.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him this summer. I saw Tonne this summer. So
Mhm.
yes.
I ran into Richard a couple of times as well.
Everybody runs into Richard.
Where is the question?
But Fabien, where are you? Are you in Paris now, or you're
Yes,
in Paris?
I'm in Paris.
Okay.
Chic.
I live in Paris now.
And did you sell the house on 9th Street?
Yeah.
You did. Mm-hmm.
For how much?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, from what we can tell, none of you really knew Liz well prior to Bazaar. And correct me if I'm wrong about that. But was going to work for her sort of a leap of faith, or did she just have that great a reputation?
Paul, you knew her.
I actually knew her. We met because we used to work with Patrick de Marchelier, Bruce Weber, and Alex Châtelet. So I had met her in London with Bruce. We had had dinner together. And then we one time shared clothes.
But you didn't know her well.
I didn't know her well, but I knew her well enough to know that she was a nice human being.
I knew her out of reputation myself. That's it.
Me too.
But like the reputation was great. She had a good reputation of being nice, which was something not common in this industry at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was nice, and when I met her, it was exactly what people had told me about her. She was charming and nice.
And what about you, Tonne?
I had not met her before, and I knew her by reputation, and it spoke for itself.
Were you interviewed, Tonne, actually?
I don't think so. I don't think I was.
Because, I just called her and said, I want this job because Fabien told me to do it.
So you called her?
I called her. Fabien said, you should do this. And I called her and I said, I want to be your fashion director. And she was like, oh my God, I just offered it to someone and I'm waiting to hear back. I'll let you know.
And who was that? That was...
It was Carlene. She had asked, I think, Grace first.
Paul's referring to Carlene Surf de Dudzel, at that time a fashion editor at large at Vogue. By Grace, he means, of course, Grace Coddington, who was then fashion director at Vogue.
Grace first, and then Carlene.
Mm-hmm.
Tonne, how about you? She approached you? What was the connection? Do you recall?
You know what? I don't... Paul, how did that happen?
Paul Wilmot.
Paul Wilmot was, at that time, the Senior Vice President of Public Relations and Communications at Calvin Klein.
Paul Wilmot called her.
Oh,
It was Wilma and me actually as well with Stephen. Because at the time when you were called, I was telling Stephen we should take Tonne, right? And Stephen was supposed to come with us. And now I get a new piece of information I never had about this Carlin Surf. No wonder why she showed up to that lunch.
which
What
lunch?
lunch?
Lunch we had with Liz. Tonne, you were there. Were you there?
I believe so.
Yes, it was right downstairs at the Pierre, and it was Stephen, myself, right? And Carlin showed up in the middle of lunch.
Okay.
And we were talking about Stephen for his contract to get him under contract. And she basically stopped that conversation, Carlin.
Oh.
Really?
Because I said, well, what the fuck is she doing here?
Fabien was asking Liz what Carlene was doing at their lunch.
Why is she here?
Well, I wasn't there actually.
And now I get it, because also she felt she could be maybe part of it because she was proposed
Yeah, she was proposed the job. Yeah.
fashion director. There we go. But she probably was the one convincing Stephen not to go.
Ah,
Really? I thought it was always that Franca.
Franca is the late Franca Sozzani, then the editor-in-chief of Italian Vogue, where Meisel had done his most groundbreaking work.
Franca told him that he would not be able to work for Italian Vogue and therefore would end up losing all his, Italian
creative.
advertising.
Oh,
And, that was the one place where, because Vogue
Yes,
was
there
not-
was that as well. There's probably more that.
it was probably weighing all of those factors together.
One of the things about Bazaar was that we had so many great nights out. The CFDA Awards, the Met Gala, Liz's Christmas parties. But what's a highlight for you?
I remember your birthday, Fabien, that you held at that
Oh,
church.
that was fun. Oh, yes. that
And
was
you
fun.
had
That's
you
fun.
had Tito Puentes, isn't that his name?
Yes.
You had Tito Puentes playing, and you had guys. I mean, there were dancers that were on the dance floor that were professional dancers that picked people to dance with. Isn't that true? Because I ended up dancing with this one guy.
I have no idea because it was all organized by my office.
I ended up dancing with this one guy. He was so fabulous. And that was when I was wearing, fishnet stockings, kitten heels, and pencil skirts. That was my uniform. And we were wheeling around the dance floor having so much fun. And you said to me, Tonne, I didn't know you could dance. It was great.
And
That
Richard
such-
was crazy that evening.
I don't remember.
Yeah, you're a little quiet this morning.
I'm listening to the legends. Like, don't forget, they inherited me back in the day.
I know. Okay, this leads me into a question. The three of you were all Richard's bosses. Paul and Tonne, you most directly.
No, not really.
Yes.
No, not really. He was the master.
What is it about Richard,
Oh,
do you
no.
think, that allowed him to get away with so much?
Oof.
Did I get away with a lot?
Oh.
All of it.
The reason he got away with it is because he's really funny.
Mhm.
And it's sweet in the most deranged manner possible. And he made it fun to be at work. Richard and I shared an office for a while.
We did.
When we first got there, we didn't have enough offices for all the people that were coming in. But I had the biggest office. And so I said, come sit with me. And Richard sat in the desk across the way from my cousin, Elaine, who was my assistant. So I watched Richard in action for a very long time.
I think you told me a pretty funny story about him and his first computer.
Well, he didn't have a computer.
I had a keyboard.
Yeah. So he would just type. So people would call and ask him if he had returned some jewelry or some purse or some shoe.
Oh, let me check.
Yeah, exactly. Let me check. And you would hear,
I forgot that.
Yeah. Well, the environment there, not only because it was filled with geniuses and the top talent in the world, AKA you guys, but you guys brought a sense of humor to the office as well as Liz. And so it just felt so free to say and do what you wanted to do within reason.
or not.
So everyone had a sense of humor, including Liz. When Liz found out I did a striptease in the back of a pickup truck down 6th Avenue going to Balthazar, she made a joke about my size by using a French fry.
Which we have documentation of
Yes,
photographically.
yes.
Oh, this is the first time I'm hearing that.
That is the first time I've heard that.
Yeah.
Actually.
But it was the most exciting time, I think, not only in terms of the pictures, the art direction, the magazine, but the personalities and the group of people that she assembled. I mean, it's kind of like a Camelot in a way, and we all kind of are bonded on some level from that. When I bump into anyone that I worked with at Harper's Bazaar, you see them and you just get like a warm feeling, and that doesn't really happen. That doesn't really happen with kind of
Anything.
other, yeah.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
I think we were all like so taken by the moment and like the work we were supposed to do there. I think like we just like lived the moment, did work so hard and just enjoyed it for what it was. And
Yes.
not even realizing really what we were doing, to be honest. I don't think we were. I think we were doing a good job and we were thinking we were doing a decent job, but we didn't think that Bazaar would become this such important thing.
The other thing was that Liz really encouraged everybody to do what they wanted to do. I mean, the freedom of
Yeah.
expression that Liz gave all of us was really remarkable. And you have to remember at that time, we were the producers. We didn't have any outside help. If I decided I wanted to shoot on an aircraft carrier, well, I had to find I had to produce the entire shoot the way we all did. And I think that enabling us to do exactly what we were compelled to do emotionally or from our lives or from whatever was happening to us and translating it into our work was something that Liz really encouraged.
I'm sure that allows you to be extremely present. Because, Paul, I know when I asked you about, did you have a sense that you were in a moment? I remember you said, we were just working. We didn't have a sense that we were changing anything.
Yeah.
And Fabien, that's how you feel also?
Oh, totally. I feel totally the same.
Yeah.
I feel like I was there and it's just like work. Do the thing, and just like move on. And just, I think we really lived the moment.
Yeah.
Without realizing really what it was, a part that, like we were so into every single moment of what we were doing, really pouring everything you have in you to do it the right way. Of course, there were tensions sometimes, but at the end, you felt like you were part of a family.
Yes. Remember at the Prada shop when my credit card was declined and you and because you would take me around in your car with your driver, I forget what his name was, Julio or something, but at the Prada
Yes,
shop,
exactly.
yeah, I was denied. And you just stepped right up and paid for it for me. And I remember it was about a month of my rent. And I remember giving you a check at some point years later, but you never cashed the check.
Wow, you owe him so much money.
Yeah, you do. That 9,000.
$9,900.
$9,000 for Lucky Chang's and another $900 at Prada.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes when you're working on a project, even though you're very in it, you can sense the wind at your back. This is going to actually be something. Did you have a sense of that?
When the first issue came out, one of the comments to me was, "You're getting there."
Who said that? Who said that?
Yeah, who said that?
It was
What? One to talk.
But I think that's the thing, because who do you talk to? Most of our circle is people in the fashion industry, not usually the most generous to give you a compliment about things. Maybe they say something like, "I like your story," or da-da-da, but it was so new looking that I'm not sure people actually knew exactly what they were looking at, a lot of people, because they were expecting, Vogue Light. So when they saw this thing, and, I have to give it up to Fabien. If it wasn't for Fabien, visually, the way the magazine looked, it would have been really nice pictures, but it looked like something different.
Come on, guys. I mean, you brought amazing. What was great is we had really good photographers and they were really willing, and you guys did amazing stories.
But Fabien, you married typography with the whole thing. That was so much part of the magazine, and that was all you, all of it.
And you didn't ruin the pictures. Like Vogue, they were putting type on pictures because, but Fabien used handwriting. He used, everything. It made the magazine exciting. So I think initially we didn't know, because for me at least, because comments were made like that to me, like, and people would say, "What's going on with Linda's head?" They weren't saying that the A was falling in their hand. They thought she had a headache. So people were not especially kind initially to me.
Right. So
at
you
least.
weren't on the receiving end of gushing or.
Eventually, yes.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Eventually. But I think initially I would say you weren't
When CNN did a portion on magazine covers throughout the history of magazine covers, that Bazaar cover is one of them.
Oh, of course.
Mhm.
It's amazing.
Along with, Annie Leibovitz, the Beatles, and
Iconic.
things like that.
Fabien, you had obviously done Italian Vogue. You had done Madonna's Sex Book. You were, a design veteran, very well known, of course. Was it exciting for you to see the Bazaar cover on the side of a bus, or were you sort of inert at that point?
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think every one of us was so excited to have the possibility in America to work at a magazine the same way you would work at a magazine in Europe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that freedom of expression?
You were initially the cheerleader that got us to go to do stuff. It was Fabien saying to Liz, maybe we should have this baby, we should have this person. So it was, I think we all just wanted it to be great. I mean, even though people made fun of the cover to me, I mean, I still love the cover. I still loved what we did. So it
Oh, it
didn't
was
really
I
matter.
can't imagine what they would make fun of.
What
Wow.
would they make? No, what?
No, it was brilliant. You guys, you know what stands out to me about every one of you in all the interviews? You are all so modest and so giving of credit to each other. And that is very rare in this business. And it comes across loud and clear.
You know what, Dennis, to be honest, I haven't worked in a magazine where I felt the team, because it was a big magazine. It was a big team where everybody felt part of that team. And like I said, that family vibe was there.
Yeah.
We had conflicts, we had fights. I had fights with Tony, I had fights with Paul, Paul had fights with me. We had moments, but deep down, we really loved each other. In fact, we can be in the same room and really enjoy each other. And I think we really wanted to do something great. And I think now when you look back, you say wow, that was really a special moment, And it was, I think we were very compassionate towards one another. I think we were very generous towards one another. And, to be honest, I give all the credits to Liz to have accepted this team to be the way it was and letting the people, like Tonne mentioned, letting the best of the people shine.
Well, I think the fact that we were all allowed to go from department to department. I could go in the art department. You could come into the fashion department. Tonne could go in. We could go everywhere and talk to each other and be welcomed. So you had a say in everything. You may not win. I could go into the art department and say, if I meant the layout, and he would say, well, I think it's better. And you were heard at least. And
Yeah,
I think
of course, we could discuss everything.
And I think that permission to speak, to be part of the magazine as a whole thing, not just your little job, made a difference.
You cannot pick on me about yourself and the way you do your own work because you don't grow. To have you guys coming and telling me this, I've learned so much myself. I feel I've learned things and I changed my way of doing things and of even doing some layouts that changed entirely because I believe you don't know everything. And the beauty of it is at the end, I really feel that this magazine was a teamwork. It was not like this person versus that person, or this person is strong here and not strong there. I felt like it was really a teamwork. Like everybody had to say, like you said.
Well, one of the interesting things that was important was Paul's insistence that there never be a credit as to who the editor was on a story. Do you remember? That was the first thing.
Oh, that's right.
Right. You never knew who was responsible for the story. So
because he didn't want to hear anyone telling him about the cover anymore.
The reason I said it to Liz, because we were going to have it. And the thing to know is the reason that stylists and editors have credits on their stories is due to Keisha Keeble, who was my ex-wife and partner, and Brian Bantry, who fought for it because they never had it before. And little by little, we start to get it. And eventually people start to put it on. But when I got to Bazaar, I thought people will look at the magazine in pieces then. They'll go, oh, like Tonne's story is this, Paul's story is that. They start to take it apart. And it would stop feeling cohesive.
but not only that, but competitive. Because editors in general are pitted against one another. That's one of the, MOs of magazine life.
Yeah.
And that eliminated that.
And you could feel it in the office.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just feel that camaraderie.
But we are in an age now where when people aren't credited, for example, when we're Instagramming things and we don't have the stylist from Bazaar back in the 90s because we don't know who styled what, people come at us.
Really?
And I get it. Of course you want to be credited.
Well, now you do, because now that's what it's all about, right?
Right.
Tonne and Paul, famously co-fashion directors, many people, including Linda Evangelista, said to us that was unheard of. You could not do that today. But those two, they were Team Liz. And you've also, of course, are known as being best friends. My question is, did you know each other very well before Bazaar, or was it the Bazaar experience that like cemented your friendship?
We knew each other. I think it cemented our relationship.
I
think
agree.
we knew each other well enough to have, good feelings about each other. Right? Like I knew that Tonne wasn't going to come at me. I knew she wasn't going to steal something off my rack. I knew she was integritous as a human.
Well, but the other thing, Paul, is that I have always followed in your footsteps. I was coming from Calvin Klein, and my sensibility was so close to Calvin's sensibility that I was kind of locked into this perfect world for a long time working with him. And then when I went into Harper's Bazaar, all of a sudden that was absolutely exploded. I mean, I could work with different designers, with different, the whole thing exploded the same time that I got married and had 2 children in 3 years. So it was a busy time. And I have to say, Paul, and you moved into my office with me, the better office, of course, the corner office, and you had a sympathetic pregnancy a lot of the time that I was pregnant. Do you remember? You did gain a substantial amount of weight.
I used it as my excuse. When Tonne got pregnant, I had just quit smoking. And I wish I could say it was because I was kind and didn't want to smoke in the presence of a pregnant woman, but it just happened that I quit smoking then. And Tonne would turn to me. Well, I would turn to Tonne because I was always hungry, obviously, because I wasn't smoking and I didn't know what to do, because it is an oral fixation. So I needed something to do. And around Tonne, you can't chew gum because that's not what people of any,
No, you can't.
It's just, you don't do that.
Bad comportment.
I agree.
So I would say to her, don't you think it's time to eat? Be maybe 11:30 or something. She'd go, yes. And don't you want like a peanut? We would have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then I would say, don't you think we have to wash this down with a vanilla milkshake?
Yes.
And so then we'd order, it would come up. Tonne would have half the sandwich and half of her milkshake, and I would eat the rest of it and drink the rest of it. I gained more weight than Tonne did.
It's actually true.
You gained 20 pounds. How many pounds did you gain?
I gained, I think, like 15,
15. I gained 50.
And you told us, Paul, that was part of the reason that you were in a trench coat for Angels, although Tonne took exception to that statement.
Cynthia's talking about the 1993 Angels shoot Tonne did with Peter Lindbergh and Amber Valletta, in which Paul made a special appearance as a troubled man walking through New York City at dawn.
That was not the reason, Paul. The reason was because
the reason I chose it. So they choose me to do this. I am, very, very short, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
But I was very rotund. And what was I going to wear? So they had an Armani coat. So the Armani coat was for a model because it was, a sample. So the coat is practically hitting the ground, if you notice. It's really long on me.
Very chic.
But I'm normally a 34 suit. This was a size 40. So the shoulder is out to here, but I'm filling the whole thing out in the round. And so it was, it was perfect for what we were doing. It was, it was chosen because it was, wasn't like I said, you have to give me this coat. Tonne found the coat. I put it on.
Right.
And because I was chubby, it fit me.
Hey, here's an off-the-cuff question. Who remembers what our receptionist's name was?
Yvette Starr with 2 R's.
Oh my God, that's so
Yes.
good.
She was there the whole time we were all there.
Your food is here and the phones are dead. Remember that?
Yes.
Running through the corridors.
What did she say?
Your food is here and the phones are dead.
The thing that was interesting about Yvette that she told me that every time the photographers would come in to meet with Liz or Fabien or one of us, they would greet her by her name. And she said in all the years she had worked there that nobody had ever greeted her by her name, except for when we were all there, including the photographers.
Wow, I love
We were
that.
working with nice people.
It was the
Yeah.
kind of atmosphere where you actually loved going into the office because it was going to be the most fun you were going to have that day.
Yeah,
It
totally.
really, truly
You were with your
was.
friends.
Richard, you are the only one in this room
Mhm.
who was there before Liz
Yes.
and then after Liz. So you were really
Yes.
there for 3 eras of the magazine.
Yes.
Talk about the change because you were an assistant
Yes.
at the old bazaar. So you were still a kid when Liz came in.
I was in my probably late 20s. Yeah. It was really something. And if I can put it into words, it was, when they all came in, it seemed intense. But what you saw from where I sat was the top brass of anyone that worked in fashion, you guys particularly. So it was a combination of a little intimidation, but that kind of wore off really quickly. It was kind of like a finishing school in a way for fashion. I learned so many things that I never knew that I should know, but it also felt, after that Linda with a headache cover, it's funny because, my life completely changed when you guys came, not just professionally, but socially. Suddenly, since you guys were there and Bazaar was now Bazaar, I was invited to everything. The minute I said, oh, I work at Harper's Bazaar, like the rope would drop, and I was like in my 20s. And it was incredible, the power of you guys in the business. And I took advantage of it fully. This is for Tonne. This is for Paul. Tonne wants those. Paul wants those. And they would move mountains for these people. It was a complete 180 on every level, socially, professionally, and personally. I mean, I didn't know what top stitch on a belt was until I worked for Tonne. There were these things that they were so particular. And I had never really gone down in the weeds with such detail as an accessories assistant as to what I needed. And I was like, holy shit, this woman thinks the top stitch is 2 millimeters too wide. What the heck? So it was stuff like that. And I just took it all in and made it happen.
But don't forget, that was Diana Vreeland.
Well, yeah.
Diana Vreeland, who left Harper's Bazaar in 1962 to be editor-in-chief of Vogue, mentored Tonne in the 70s. She hired her as a fit model at Vogue. Later, Tonne worked with her on several exhibits at the Costume Institute.
Yeah, no, that was Diana Vreeland training. And I remember at one point, Richard, there was one of the hat designers. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Who did not know what a tricorn was.
Yes.
And I was appalled. I just thought, how can you be a designer of hats and not know what a tricorn is?
What is a tricorn?
A tricorn is the 3-pointed hat, tricorn.
Of course I knew that, just for our listeners.
But we also were very strict, Paul. Do you remember? Because we did have, you were not allowed to wear open-toe shoes at all in the office during the summer. That was unacceptable. Remember? We had a dress code.
Of sorts.
It was, no, of sorts, because it just was not appropriate to wear open-toed sandals to a workplace. Period. The end.
There were a lot of things like that, looking back, made total sense. And it's like Miss Porter's for fashion, it's the Bible, what you guys wanted, what you said, what you felt. It was like the golden rule. You guys raised the bar so high, you guys had such standards and what's that thing? Ethics? You guys had...
You wouldn't know.
And it was fun, like no one... I remember being in Paris and, it was a lot of fun. I'd get to go to every party. And like the next morning, or actually later that night, I'd miss a couple of morning shows, I just didn't make it. And I remember one of the editors would get up and say, where's Richard Sinnott? My seat would be empty. And Liz would look and say, oh, as long as he's out having fun. And I had been at a Gautier party till like 5 that morning.
Doing your job.
Doing my job. And yes, and...
But it is part of the job, in fact.
It was, yeah. It truly was,
I mean...
because that's...
I'm glad you're pushing that narrative.
Paul's not having it.
Especially because I was...
No, I think it's part of the job. I think then there were things... what do they call it? The outer perimeter of the job.
Yeah,
so to speak, yeah. I remember, Paul, you telling us something really funny that you had a child, so you weren't really going out as much as everybody, and that you would sit and watch as Richard made reservations in your name. And he was like, I never thought it was going to work, but
It
it would
does.
work. I'd say it's Paul Cavaco from Harper's Bazaar, and he'd get that table at
Table for
Balthazar.
6.
The thing is, I've never done that.
You've never used your own
I've
name?
never gotten anything from it.
Oh, I did it to all you guys.
Well, you know Richard likes to say that when he was at Bazaar, he lived like a Kardashian on $45,000 a year.
That's true. I didn't know what budget was. I mean, a rent-a-car maybe, but there was no budget. Tonne, at least as far as I was.
Well, we didn't have to do when I've been in other magazines, I had to work on the budget
Right.
and keep it at a certain number. We didn't have that. But I don't think we were very extravagant, although we probably were, I mean,
It was just a more extravagant world. I don't think,
well, no, I think that, we produced like how did we get, Tonne got whatever it was called, that boat, the giant boat that you did the shoot on.
Aircraft carrier.
Aircraft.
Aircraft carrier.
No, to be honest, like, compared to the other magazines, we were good.
That's what I think too, yeah.
We almost behave like a European magazine sometimes.
As we come to a close, could you talk about your most vivid memory of Liz? Tonne, do you want to start?
I was awed. I really was awed by Liz. And then, Liz did have, she got cancer, and our whole world got, very, very changed by that reality within the workplace. There was a lot going on. And then I got cancer also. So
oh my goodness.
it was like, it was pretty wild.
While you were at Harper's Bazaar, Tonne?
Yeah, I did. Liz's compassion and her humanity throughout all of this, the fact that she was present, throughout it all, she really was. She was never absent in our existence there. Was she ever? Never.
Never. Yeah.
Richard, what about you? What's your most vivid memory of Liz?
Well, they're mostly about her sense of humor, actually, and her practical jokes that she would play on me.
Name one. Name a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. All right. Well, I don't know if you might want to edit this, but there was this woman that worked in and I kind of wasn't a fan because she would steal people's seats and get all dressed up and try to get into the shows. Anyway, I would call her and
I didn't know that.
yes, I did.
Ah.
Oh my God.
So it was just kind of like an inter-office, private little joke. But one day I think I was doing a still life shoot or something, and the phone rings, and I'm like, hello. And she says, hello, it's
It was the show-crashing, seat-stealing colleague, using her extremely offensive nickname to announce herself.
and my heart stopped because I thought, holy shite, she found out. And then after a little bit of laughing, it was Liz calling me to prank phone call me.
But think about the fact that this was our editor-in-chief, knew all of our names, would call you, like she's calling Richard directly and pranking him.
Uh-huh.
There was something very democratic about it.
I don't remember a time where I talked to Liz about a bag or a shoe. It's more just about, who was doing what and what I saw in like dark rooms in Paris and things like that, and she just gobbled it up. You know what I mean? She loved it. And when she was sick and she missed the shows, I would end up, drunk dialing her from a restaurant in Paris and just breaking it all down. And she just loved it,
What about you, Paul?
At that point, my daughter was going to school by herself. I think she was 15 when I started working at Bazaar. So I would get up with her. You go to school early, so I would be early and Liz would be early. So we'd sit in her office. I'd come in with a cup of coffee and we would smoke cigarettes. And that's all we did. We talked about our children, sometimes the shoots. It could be anything.
What about you, Fab? What's your most vivid memory?
The first time I met Liz at the restaurant when we were deciding, what was Bazaar. What I remember vividly is that we stayed about 2 hours for lunch and we talked about the magazine probably the last 5 minutes. Basically, we spent the entire lunch talking about life, talking about children, talking about New York, London, the life here, where she's going to live, everything but talk about Bazaar. And at the end, she told me, oh, what's your idea of Bazaar? And I said, well, what's yours? And she told me, I want to do the best magazine in the world. Well, that sounds like something I want to do too. But that was it. She was so generous and so beautiful. You understood very clearly because she was diagnosed with cancer quite rapidly. You knew pretty much that what you were doing was just a moment and you have to grab it and to live it fully because you knew it was not going to last. When she passed away, my decision was made that I would not touch another picture without her being around. So I resigned. But, all the time in between those two experiences, beginning and end, it was just pure joy and happiness and good work.
One of my most vivid memories of Liz is about how expressive she was. She had all these Liz words she used when she loved something. Heaven, genius, divine.
These words were also very much Paul Cavaco, to be honest.
Yes, we would all use them. My favorite was heaven.
That's what I remember. Everything was heaven.
You know what? We were all in heaven. It was fantastic to be at Bazaar and to be with Liz. She was fucking brilliant, and it was the best time. The best time.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Thank you.
It's been a dream to have all of you in the room together. We feel really privileged.
It's been really fun for me, and also fab to see you.
Same here, Tonne.
Really, I haven't seen you in a long time.
And you, Richard. Really.
Oh, it just feels so natural to be
Yeah.
in this group of people. It feels so good. The love I have for all of you and the respect is incomparable. I've never had this at any job. It didn't feel like a job. It just felt like a lifestyle.
It was. You're right.
It really did. And it was Camelot,
I feel the same. I feel
Yeah.
the same. You guys are family, really.
It was the best of the
Yeah.
best. It was the best of the best.
Yeah.
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 Well, thank you very, very much. And Paul, especially to you for getting up at 5 a.m. And Fabien, thank you for staying late with us.
Thank you. I wouldn't have missed this. I would not have missed this.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Fabien, I've got the check in the mail.
Don't send it because I might cash it.
Oh, I love you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe. And if you have thoughts, leave a comment below.
Flow Up is hosted and produced by Dennis Golonka and me, Cynthia True. It was written and edited by me, Cynthia True. Original theme song is by Stephen Phillips. Sound and music editing, Tiger Lily Biscuit. Sound design and mix, Eric Weiss. The episode was recorded at Voice Tracks West, The Cutting Room, and Digital Arts New York. Special thanks to Clay Morrow and Matthew Saber. I'd like to dedicate my work on this podcast to my stepfather, Robert Young, who made everything possible for me. He was the most elegant person I ever knew.